Hi, everybody. Good afternoon again. My name is AJ Ehrenstein. I'm one of the two deans of Beyond Barnard. Thanks for joining us for this second session of Summer Colloquium. We kicked off yesterday with a session designed just for the class of 2020 about navigating the economy in the context of COVID. And this afternoon, we're really excited. I love presenting with our three co-presenters today, Brianna, Lindsay, and Jen. So we'll have a great conversation about ways that you can make the most of summer 2020. And throughout this program, if you have questions, please do feel free to chat them directly to us. We'll do our best to answer questions in the process of the presentation, and then we'll save time for questions at the end. The program's being recorded, and we'll share it on the YouTube page for Beyond Barnard, which we launched during COVID just a few weeks ago, and we're excited about that, and we're glad to be able to share materials with you. Just to get things started so that you know, in case you haven't seen, Colloquium is an effort that is new for this summer. We are trying to make it clear how many different ways you can plug into Beyond Barnard resources and programs throughout the summer. All of our programs are virtual. Many of them will be recorded and shared. We're uploading new resources digitally all the time. You check out that website, barnard.edu/beyond-barnard, Summer Colloquium 2020. That's a great place to start and to get a sense of just how many different programs and offerings we're providing this summer. If you have ideas about other programs that you'd like to share with us, please definitely let us know. We've designed Summer Colloquium to be in line with feedback that we were hearing from so many different students and alums about what they need to feel supported during a period that has been challenging for so many reasons. So to get things started, here's what we're going to be talking about in this hour. We're going to give you some opening thoughts about how to frame what we're all going through right now, what you may be going through, your friends, allies, compatriots, and really in many ways, folks around the country and around the world are experiencing with respect to employment, but also with respect to so many other things that have been challenging for the past several months. We'll go into, and I'll hang on to it for here, thinking holistically about graduate school. We've heard from so many students an uptick in interest in graduate school as they think about their academic and professional goals. And we want to give you some ideas about how to spend the summer thinking critically and carefully about whether graduate school is the right fit for you. We want to make sure that you're not fleeing to graduate school just because of the ways that the economy and the job market have become complex. We want to think with you about whether graduate school is a good fit. I'll hand it off to Jen Leck to talk about external fellowships and how you can use the summer to put together really effective applications for fellowships and think about fellowships that might be a good fit for you in the future. Brianna Roman will take it from there and talk about networking strategies that you can make the most of during the summer, both through Barnard Connect, our platform designed just for the Barnard community, as well as LinkedIn. We have some great events shared by Barnard alumni to help you rock your LinkedIn profile and do really well in reaching out via that important platform. Lindsay Granger-Weaver will take it from there, and she'll talk about short-term hiring, hiring in the longer term, ways that you can maximize your time this summer building skills, and opportunities that you might think about to volunteer as a means of advancing your professional and personal goals as well. Brianna will round it out with how can Beyond Barnard Advising help you? How can you use a combination of one-on-one support and the programs throughout the summer to make sure that you are progressing and making the most of your time? That's the real theme for the entire afternoon. But first, I want to make sure to give everybody time to introduce themselves. So I will hand it off to my colleagues and let them say a few things about their work, where they're at this summer, and how they're here to help. Anyone can start.
I will go since my name is next to yours, AJ. I am Jen Leck. I am the Associate Director for Fellowships and Research at Beyond Barnard. So I provide advising and support for our students and alums who are going through processes to apply to nationally competitive fellowships and awards. And I manage the campus process for any of those awards that require campus nomination or endorsement.
Hi everyone, I'm Brianna Roman. I'm the coordinator for our advising and programs team. So I provide one-on-one advising to students and alumni, as well as provide support to many of our programs and workshops. And I also manage the peer career advisors that are usually in the office reviewing resumes and cover letters.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Granger Weaver. I am one of the associate directors of the advising and programs team. So in addition to the one-on-one advising with students and alums, I also manage the Career Insight series and a lot of the digital assets. So a lot of the handshake resources and keeping those organized. And you may hear a child and Cookie Monster in the background because that's what life is right now.
You may hear a child and Cookie Monster behind me as well, but that's only because I'm a Sesame Street fan. I do not have any children. Thanks to all of you. And just so everybody knows, I'm not sure if all of you have been to Beyond Barnard a million times or if you haven't been yet, but all of us are part of a really dedicated team of 16 individuals. We're here virtually all summer, regardless of your class year, how many times you've been here before, what your interests are, whether you're intending on graduate school or something, or professional, a career, an internship. Please let us know how you need us throughout the summer. So just some opening thoughts to get things going. I think it's really important in the summer following any academic year to make sure that you are taking time to do things that are bringing you joy, whether that is taking your dog to the beach or hanging out virtually with some friends, whether it's being active in any way that is important to you with respect to kind of ongoing social action and protest, whether it's spending time with family, whether it's taking time to reflect on the year in some other way. This has been such a complicated couple of months, and we understand from so many students and so many alums that the ways that these challenges are affecting us have been unequal, have been different for individual to individual. And we want to make sure that this summer, no matter what you're up to, you're taking time to take care of yourself, and that part of that means that you're tapping into the resources at Beyond Barnard. We're here to support you, and we hope that you'll use us throughout the summer as you kind of navigate this really challenging and complex time. That being said, we want to say vociferously that no single summer will define your entire career trajectory. We've heard from so many students and alumni that plans have changed. The best laid plans that have been in place for 11 months or 11 minutes have all been complicated by COVID, by quarantine, by so much news across questions of inequality and inequity and social justice. All of the things that we're seeing in the news have complicated our lives in ways that we probably couldn't have predicted just a couple of months ago. But that said, no single summer will define your entire career trajectory. And that's especially in the case of COVID-19, where the economy is closed in so many quarters because we are all staying inside, because we are all working remotely, because we are all in many cases fragmented. No one will ever ask you why, if it's the case that your plans have been uninterrupted in the summer of 2020, no one will ever ask you why that was the case. It will be evident. And so this is just one couple of month period in a very long story about how you're going to continue to take what you've done at Barnard and go into what you probably don't even know is next yet. What we've been seeing in our conversations with students, with alumni alike, is that it's important in this context to situate yourself in a broader community that's facing a range of challenges while also seeing opportunities. The challenges that you are facing, the challenges that we are all confronting individually from our respective quarantine at home locations, are not just affecting us individuals, they're affecting the entire social fabric right now. And it's important for us to think collectively about how to support and contribute to communities in a context of exceptional strain. Strains that, like I said, we may not have been able to predict just a few short months ago. This is another way of saying that we've heard from a lot of students that they're wondering, how can I get an internship? How can I get a research opportunity? How can I get a connection to an alumna? How can I get a mentor? And what we've seen being real effective in this place is students who come to us and say, what do you think I can contribute to an internship? What do you think I can contribute to a relationship with an alum? You all have such an amazing breadth of skills and abilities and knowledge. And the best way to try to figure out how to leverage your talents and your individual skills and abilities is to ask what you can bring to different kinds of communities that are experiencing all manner of strain this summer and really, for the past 4 months at least. Okay, that's kind of the opening spiel. And from here, we want to think about what it means to bring what you have to offer into multiple different spaces throughout the summer, to explore the different options in front of you and to pursue some of them successfully. The first one, as I mentioned, a lot of students have asked us about graduate school, and we want to encourage holistic and productive thinking about graduate school and your Fitness 2 programs this summer. Graduate and professional school exploration, after all, entails more than just research. For those of you who may have had research plans canceled this summer, it entails more than just coursework. For those of you who may have had plans to study, it entails a whole set of activities that you can be pursuing throughout the summer to prepare yourself effectively for applications. What we think it means to think holistically about graduate school is to consider institutions, people, ways that you can conduct outreach, the kind of homework you can do, the professional experience that might be valuable to graduate programs, applications to fellowships, which Jen will talk more about, ways you can contribute to research even if you're not in the lab or the archive directly, and ways you can develop technical skills that might make you a better fit for graduate programs. I'm going to run through a couple of details about each of these before moving forward. When it comes to institutions, a lot of folks approach graduate applications the same way they approach college applications, which is to think of entire institutions. But for graduate programs, it's really important to spend some time, and summer is a good time to do that, exploring specific programs. A really strong university may not have a very strong program at the graduate level in your area of interest, and it's important to do some exploration about specific programs that may be a good fit for you. That goes for people as well. So exploring faculty and the research that faculty are doing at individual programs and trying to understand whether they are accepting graduate mentees and whether they're taking more students under their wing as advisors. Conducting outreach with respect to graduate school is a really effective use of your time. Networking and building connections is not just for those of you who are intending upon going into internships in the future or full-time work. It's a great way to get to know whether you might be a good fit for an institution, to talk to students who maybe share your identity backgrounds, who maybe come from similar majors, who maybe have similar career arcs to the ones that you're pursuing. Talking to Barnard alumni who are in graduate programs, building your network in this way can be a really effective way to discern your fit to a program. That's one way of doing homework, but the other way of doing homework is just to stay in touch with the people throughout the summer, to continue to do research on the ways in which an institution could be a good fit to you. It means understanding what kinds of professional experience, including some kinds of remote work that maybe you're engaged in this summer, could be helpful in your application. Again, I'll let Jen talk a little bit more about fellowships, but when it comes to research, even if, like we said, you're not in the lab this summer or in the archive conducting research, depending on if you're in a STEM or humanities or social sciences field, understanding how to conduct lit reviews, knowing what's happening in the field generally, talking to faculty both at Barnard, Columbia, and at the institutions where you may be applying about what their research is and how you might be able to contribute to it remotely can be really beneficial throughout the summer. And finally, I know that I believe Lindsay's going to talk a little bit about ways to develop technical skills that can also advance your applications, not just to STEM programs or technical programs, but also business school, law school, and even humanities and social sciences programs. So what can you do this summer? We definitely suggest staying and getting in touch with faculty and alumni at institutions, not just staying in touch with your faculty at Barnard and talking about potential letters of recommendation and programs, but also reaching out to understand how you can fit into the communities that graduate programs really are. We definitely want you to know that graduate advising is available at Beyond Barnard. We're also doing specific programs on graduate degrees in business, law, healthcare, the humanities, and social sciences throughout summer colloquium, and we encourage you to sign up for those. But also talk to an advisor about your graduate ambitions and why you are interested in heading to graduate school. You can, of course, study for standardized tests. We'll share some free resources that can help you prepare for standardized tests. You can certainly complete LinkedIn learning modules, which you have access to for free using your uni. And we also think that pursuing a range of remote opportunities and experiences is a great way to to develop skills and build professional experience that can help clarify whether you want to proceed into a professional role or potentially go into graduate school after completing your time at Barnard. With that, I'm going to hand it off to Jen, who's going to talk about some of the great work that she does all summer, advising students and alumni both on external fellowships. Jen.
Thank you, AJ. So before I jump in and just start talking about competitive fellowships, I want to step back for a second and explain what fellowships even are. So when we're talking in the context of the work that we do at Beyond Barnard, the support that we provide, and advising on fellowships, we're talking about experiences that are either a funded opportunity or it's direct funding itself for a certain opportunity or experience. So fellowship itself is an umbrella term. You may have heard the words scholarship, award, grant. They all kind of fall under the same category, which again, in the context of what we're talking about here, they're external. So they are not Barnard funding. They're outside of the realm of Barnard, and they're nationally competitive, meaning anyone in the country, and sometimes they're internationally competitive, in which case anyone in the world can apply to them. So these are foundations, organizations, grants, government opportunities, different funding sources that provide, direct funding for a certain opportunity or an experience that you pursue and you're not paying for it itself. The fellowship itself is a funded opportunity. So to give you some examples, fellowships can be used for research, for graduate school, as AJ mentioned, for an international experience, and much more. Realistically, there are thousands of fellowships that exist in the world. So it's just about identifying how a fellowship fits into your long-term goals, how it fits into your academics and your career. As I mentioned, some examples to provide just to kind of give you an idea of the breadth of the types of fellowships that are in the world. There are awards like the Gilman Scholarship, which is specifically for undergraduate study abroad. So this is, $5,000 to $8,000 for students to receive funding to spend a semester or a year, sometimes even a summer abroad. And a lot of students don't know that those types of awards exist. There are fellowships like the National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship Program, the GRFP, which is quite a lot of money towards a PhD or graduate program in STEM fields. So if you're a STEM student, you're thinking about grad school, definitely check that one out. On the other end of the spectrum, there are programs like the Fulbright program, which isn't necessarily for one specific experience in graduate school or study abroad, but you're determining where in the world you might be going. It can be used in one of 140 countries for either research, graduate study, English teaching. It's really a wonderful, broad opportunity where you're defining what a Fulbright year looks like for you in an international context. So there's a lot of different ways to use fellowships. There are, infinite number of possibilities out there. So it's really about kind of that process of identifying what makes sense for you and how a fellowship fits in for you. And that's where that planning ahead this summer comes in. So, as we know, plans have changed. You might have more time on your hands right now. This is a great opportunity to use some of that time you have to consider fellowships and do the research to see what's out there that might work for you going forward. Oftentimes I'm seeing, seniors or recent alums who say, I wish that I knew about this thing that existed when I was a junior. Now is the time to look into those things. And also, if you're a senior, it's not too late either. Certainly there's always time. I work with alums all the time on these awards. So you don't have to be a student to apply for a fellowship either. But now is a great time to do that first step of planning ahead and thinking about what's out there. Applications themselves typically have a lot of components and they take a significant commitment. So I often recommend students or applicants are spending, maybe 6 to 8 weeks on average on an application at minimum. And you're usually applying 6 to 12 months ahead of when you would actually utilize the fellowship. So for example, if you're planning to go to graduate school and you're a rising senior, you're going to be applying to graduate school this fall, you're likely also going to have fellowships applications that would fund that graduate experience due this fall as well. So they would be due usually deadlines a year ahead of when you would actually receive it. So utilizing this time to find those awards so that you're prepared to put an application together over the summer is a great opportunity. In addition to that, just using this time as well to work on those other areas that are relevant to fellowship applications. So as AJ mentioned, developing those relationships for recommenders, considering what your long-term goals are and how a fellowship fits in, really taking that time to reflect, because you're always so busy and constantly going. You have so many commitments as Barnard students that sometimes it's good to just take a minute and really reflect on that. What is it that I want to do? What's next? How do my goals fit into something like a fellowship? And maybe even drafting personal statements, application materials, essentially just taking that time to prepare while you have it now, and knowing that Beyond Barnard is here to support you through that. So this all might sound a little bit confusing or ambiguous to you right now because fellowships might be a new idea, but know that we're here to support you through that process. We have overview sessions generally on fellowships. So, that's always my first go-to step. If this sounds confusing and you're not really sure how to start, watch a fellowships overview session where I provide a lot more detail than in these couple of minutes on what fellowships are, how to find them, what's in an application, how do I go forward in the process with an award that has a Barnard campus process. But in addition to that, I provide essay feedback. I'll talk to you about who should write your letters of recommendation, answer application questions, manage any endorsement process for a set of awards that require it, but just provide that general support to you because we know these are competitive processes, so we want you to be able to have that, that institutional support to go forward. Some steps that you can take right now, first and foremost in identifying opportunities. Like I said, attend an overview session. If you, in Handshake, go to the resources section, there's a folder for competitive fellowships, and within that folder, there's a webinar recorded right now about with a fellowships overview. So that'll get you started with the general information. But then there are wonderful databases out there for you to really go forward in the active process of researching awards that make sense for you. So there are some national databases that I have listed there, some for all fields, some for specific fields, or then the government funding. But our Beyond Barnard, that first link listed there, we have this new Beyond Barnard fellowships database, which if you go to the next slide, AJ, I can show you actually, it's really helpful because we actually have filters within the database. So you can filter by program length, by program type, by location, by to the various different aspects of it, including, post-grad, if you're thinking about grad school, different regions of the world, whatever makes sense for what you're looking for. And this will just give you a general idea to get you started what's out there. The other thing to point out is that other little red box. We do indicate there if, thank you for highlighting that, if a Barnard institutional endorsement or nomination is required. And we want to let you know that because those deadlines in order to apply through a campus process for institutional endorsement or nomination, those deadlines are usually at least a month ahead of the national deadline. So you would be submitting a completed application for us for campus review 1 month before. So it's just to let you know, you want to be in touch with me if you see any that have that indication to learn more about what that campus process entails. So with that, I mean, those are the big things. Go to watch an overview, check out some databases, that'll get you started, and then always reach out if you have other questions. And with that, I will pass it on to Brianna to talk about networking.
Thank you. So in addition to things that you might see posted online or opportunities that you find out about through databases or through listservs, it's always a good idea to start building your network, and it's never too late to do that. And you can do that through LinkedIn as well as our own platform called Barnard Connect. And it's, again, never too late to start building your network. You should always nurture your personal connections that you've already made, as well as professional connections. That could be friends, family, previous supervisors, previous coworkers, your professors, or any advisors. You should always try to keep in touch with those folks as well. But also, it's a good idea to reach out to alumni that might be in cities that you're in, or companies that sound interesting to you, or just jobs in your industry that are interesting to you. And they're the ones who could give you straightforward advice. And to do that, you can find them on either LinkedIn or Barnard Connect. If you can go to the next slide, AJ, sorry, I can show how you can do that. So on LinkedIn, you again can find alums that are in locations that are near you or where you want to work. You can also search by the job. You can put in a keyword of what industry interests you. And to do that, you'll need a LinkedIn account, and you can search Barnard College on the search tab and go to the alumni database and find it through that way. If you need advice on how to spruce up your profile or just in general, how to get started if you don't have LinkedIn, on our Handshake resources page, we do have recorded events, as AJ was talking about before, from 2 Barnard alumna that hosted sessions. We're also having one next Wednesday. So they can give you, again, just like straightforward advice on how to get started on LinkedIn, or just how to spruce up your profile, or even just like be found on LinkedIn. Once you choose somebody that is of interest to you, you can also search by major as well. It's definitely okay to connect and add a note along with the connection. So say a little bit about who you are, what you found interesting on their profile that relates to your interests, and add in some specific questions to make your messaging more impactful. And it's definitely okay in that messaging too to ask for a meeting, or you can just email them first if you don't feel comfortable doing that, and ask and say happy to connect, and also follow up with an informational meeting. If it feels right during that meeting, definitely ask for advice on who you should connect with, or any insight on opportunities at their organization, but let that happen naturally, because they might even offer you to forward your resume or review your resume in order to connect you with somebody that they work with or HR. So I've had students that have met with alums all the time and connect with them. And I think it's a really good idea to do this because, again, you never know what opportunities can come about doing that. In addition to LinkedIn, Barnard Connect is very similar to that, except it's our platform from Beyond Barnard. So anybody that has signed up on this platform is willing to mentor Barnard students and give advice. And this is only open to the Barnard community. And what's great about it is you can request meetings right then and there. If you press Let's Connect, again, you can search by industry, you can search by major. You can just like craft a message. It literally does it for you. And it depends what you want to ask. If you want resume advice, networking advice, career exploration, and it just creates a message for you, and you can request a meeting right then and there. As well, there are resources on the site that you can use if you need help with how to be a great mentee or what to ask. But yeah, again, I definitely recommend signing up for LinkedIn if you don't have one already, especially Barnard Connect too, because again, you never know what can come about if you ask for advice. And I will come back to at the end, but I'll hand this off to Lindsay.
Hi, everyone. So I'm going to talk to you guys now about hiring, skill building, volunteering, basically gamut of things that you can do this summer. So in terms of getting hired, a lot of my advising appointments now start with, is it too late? Should I even try? Is it worth it to even look for a job or an internship or just something? And the answer is, if that's what you want, then yeah, absolutely. You can absolutely, it's not too late. You can absolutely still try. Looking for remote opportunities that may not have a set end date, things that you may be able to balance with the upcoming semester work, short-term, temporary opportunities. All of these can be really meaningful places for you to get employment. And also, if you want to get paid, that's always nice too. And these are things that can help you out. Be strategic though, if this is your main goal. So looking at fields that are hiring right now, things that are growing, things that may have been deemed essential in this environment. So things that are definitely remote would be like tech support or telemedicine, a lot of like the logistics side of things, of retail, streaming and digital, absolutely. That's definitely been my savior these days. But data and tech for sure. So places that, and virtual learning and tutoring. So places that you can see growing now, but also have the potential to continue even after this moment is over. And so specific places for where to look for these, could flip slides. So Handshake is just the one place. So definitely look there, but also look at these other places. So Indeed.com is a great one. It's just a job search engine. It can be a little unwieldy, but if you're specific with your keywords and specific with what you want to look for, it's a great place to start. Idealist is another place I find myself saying a lot of these days, especially if you kind of want to do something meaningful, if you want to dig into specific causes, or if everything that's going on has made you a little bit more civic minded or wanting something social interest related. That's the go-to spot for nonprofit social sector sort of work. So between those two, you can absolutely find a lot of things, and Handshake. The next two on this list are just examples of very niche job boards. So Media Bistro for media work, USA Jobs for government types of positions, but there are a ton of places that are industry specific. LinkedIn is also great because they have, not only do they host a job board that you can actually see if you're connected to anybody at the particular company that's hiring, but they also have a list of who's hiring now. And that's new in the COVID moment. It's updated all the time. So you can see if these are organizations or places that you could see yourself, or places that you may want to gain experience. And then also another very, very niche, Candor, which talks about hiring freezes. It's just a running, constantly updated list of who's hiring, laying off, frozen jobs, just so that you know, can kind of get a broader picture of the job market and also figure out where you may be able to fit if a job or an internship is your goal for the summer. If it's not, or if there isn't, maybe you're not seeing anything within your industry but want to still gain some experience, then you can go to volunteering if that's a possibility. It's a really good substitute for some of these more formal structured internships and jobs. So the key to this, if you're using it as like career development, is to really find something that's related to your interests. So it helps you really get that hands-on experience, even if it's just a few hours a week. A lot of places can't pay people right now, but will absolutely take your time. And so if you go approach a company or an organization that you're interested in, and with a tangible way that you can help them out right now remotely, the chances of them saying no may be a little slim. It also really helps if you want to start building your network in a particular area. Just like Brianna just mentioned, networking is always a great thing to do. It's never too late to start, and it's never too early to start. And so volunteering can help you get tapped into places that could then, opportunities that could lead to more opportunities down the road. Political campaigns in this election year, they're always going to be looking for folks. They're always active. And so if that's something that you, again, want to try out, now would be a good time to do it. Or don't look for something related to your career interests. You can always just volunteer for the sake of volunteering, and personal development is really important, really necessary, and you never know what that could bring about either. It's always good to try new things. And so specific places to volunteer, Idealist is a great spot to do that because they have not only jobs and internships, but volunteer opportunities. And then some cause specific job boards. If you can think of anything that you're interested in, chances are good that if you Google it, you can find somewhere to go. Skill building is, if it's not working out, if work isn't working out, then you can really find opportunities to build up your skill set, to learn something new or enhance a skill set for a future job search or opportunity. So really, a lot of employers look at what you can do more than where you learned how to do it. And so when thinking about like, oh, I just learned this thing on YouTube, it's like, but can you do it? That's all we really care about. And so I think like doing this is a great way to, and focusing on skill building is a really great way to just kind of gather yourself and give yourself something to do during this time. And then you can put it on your resume to get that credit in a skills section or independent work section, depending on what types of skills and projects that you've been doing. And then also gather it on a personal portfolio website. Depending on the industry you're interested in, those are very valuable things to add to your resume and to maintain. And so skill building resources. So again, LinkedIn Learning, always a great one. Free with your uni, thanks Columbia. And so then there are also some micro learning platforms. So depending on how in-depth you want to be and how structured, some of them like Coursera, edX, Udemy, Udacity, all of them have fee for service courses basically that you can figure out, that you can tap into and kind of really learn something in a short term or long-ish but still short term time frame. Same with General Assembly and Metis. The Beyond Barnard and just Barnard campus resources are also great. Even though you're not on campus, they're definitely available remotely. And then finally, there's YouTube. And so if you really want to see if you even want to take the time to learn something, then there's probably a video about it. And that's a really great place to start, and kind of because A, it's free, but also you can see if it keeps your interest enough to really dig into it on one of these other platforms. So in terms of hiring and skill building and volunteering, you can do one, you can do them all around the same time, but it's really going to help you, I guess, show your work for the summer while still doing something that's meaningful for you. And now pass it back to Brianna to talk about Beyond Barnard.
So everything we just talked about today, we all on our team can definitely advise you on. So even if you're not sure on where to start, or if you've been to our office several times and you want to chat, we're always open for advising. We've been remote since March, 3 months today, I think. So we haven't stopped since then. So we are definitely available virtually to talk about everything that was covered today. In addition to that, the Summer Colloquium has, we have weekly events and workshops that can enhance your professional development skills and help you out on your search for whatever it is that you want to pursue. As well, we are still doing resume and cover letter review, as well as going over what you're looking for in a job search, or if you're going to graduate school or law school, we're still here for that. And also too, interviews now are virtual, so we can help you prepare for your interviews still, and what to expect. So definitely make an appointment to get started. Or again, if you've seen us before, come back, and yeah, we're here for you.
Thanks, everybody. I wanted to underscore a few different points, and one that Brianna just made is that we are here throughout the entire summer, and we're hoping that you'll tap into us. We also understand that what we went through just now in 43 relatively quick minutes can be a little overwhelming. And it's totally okay if the first meeting that you make with Beyond Barnard is just about getting organized, deciding how you want to structure the next couple of weeks of the summer to suit your specific needs. So maybe you wanted to do everything that we just talked about, but it's not feasible, and we don't want you to spend 8 hours a day applying to everything there is in the world, but going through a couple of questions about what's really important to you and how you want to divide your time is a productive way of using an appointment with a Beyond Barnard advisor for sure. We also wanted to make sure to call out, join Barnard Connect now. And in the next couple of weeks, we are actually soft launching this week. Barnard Connect is growing into a marketplace that we're going to be calling Beyond Mentoring. It'll be a place where alumni can post projects for the short term, typically about 20 to 40 hours, some paid, some unpaid, where you can develop skills and build meaningful mentoring relationships beginning as soon as July. It's a great way to build a relationship, get to know an alumna, and also build up some of your skills in a setting that may not perfectly mirror an internship, but it will definitely give you something to add to your resume. So again, another reason to join Barnard Connect in the short term so that you have visibility on those projects once they become available. We can kind of keep talking. We can kind of like popcorn a few things that, you know, I know that we always realize things that we wish that we had said when we are presenting. But we'd also just like to remind you all that if you have questions, you can chat them. You can chat them to the whole group. You can chat them just privately to me if you don't want to call your name out to the entire group. You can also certainly go off mute if you feel comfortable and just shout a question out. But I guess just before we actually get questions in, I would put to the three of my colleagues, you know, if there were something that you could start doing this week in the areas that you talked about, what do you think would be some of the immediate first steps just to get things going? How would you advise that people start to take ownership in the areas of that you talked about in this presentation? Brianna, can we start with you? I was just looking at you.
Yeah.
Talked about network a little bit.
Pop in my head, so perfect. So there is a site that we all typically recommend during our advising sessions called Annette. And even if whatever industry it is that you're in has been put to a stop due to the coronavirus, look on Annette and look at this. It's really great for like job descriptions and just like a job analysis overview. And it shows like what skills you need for that particular industry or what a day-to-day looks like, job level, experience. So definitely maybe like do a search on Annette, and I don't know, type in like museums or finance or social work, something like that. And it definitely gives like a great overview on that particular occupation. And if you look through it, you never know what you can find. And I also like another site called What Can I Do with This Major? So looking at your major and seeing what areas you can go into as well. And it gives like a little to-do list of what you can do to like get insight on that area. But your options are endless with any major you have.
I think in terms of some of the things I talked about, one thing you can start to do is just figure out what you want to do with your time this summer. And not necessarily structure it around what's going to look good to employers or what's going to look good to graduate admissions officers or what's going to other people. It's like, what do you actually want to do with your day? Because finding something meaningful to do is going to make the time go by quicker, but it's also going to add kind of a layer of understanding to this time that we're in. The time of like a lot of uncertainty, a lot of just tumult the anxiety may ease a little bit if you're doing something that you find fulfilling. And so whatever that may be, like we said before throughout this, you know, nobody's going to look at your resume and say, oh, summer 2020, they didn't have a fancy internship or anything like that. It's like, because you did something that was personally powerful, and you can use this time to really take advantage of the fact that you have the freedom to try things out. You have the freedom to, you know, figure yourself out a little bit as you work through this career journey, because those two things are very linked. And just take some time for you and take some time to figure out where you want your next steps to be that are on your own terms.
I think what I would have to share about fellowships is really following what Lindsay just said, in the sense that just because you might learn about fellowships this summer doesn't mean you have to apply to a fellowship in 2 months. It's really so much more important to figure out what it is you care about and what it is that, you know, you want to do, whether it's this summer or after graduation or 10 years from now. You know, those are the priorities, however it is that you want to approach them. But, you know, this is a great time to have that moment to reflect on that and think about the things in your life that are meaningful to you. And then as you learn about fellowships, which, you know, step one is watching an overview where I, you know, can provide a little bit more context than I could today on really what fellowships are all about and how to go forward finding them, and what the process looks like, so that you can have that in the back of your mind. And even if you're like, great, now I know, but I need to find an internship or a volunteer opportunity because that's what I care about right now. That's fine. And then maybe a year from now, you might be thinking about grad school or thinking, I want to apply for that research thing next summer. Whatever it might be, remember that fellowships exist and they're, you know, a great opportunity to get funding for the things that you care about, to, you know, be able to pursue things that offer that recognition to you for, you know, something that you're interested in pursuing.
I think all of that is great advice. And I mean, I think I would also underscore, you know, a lot of us are made fragmented from each other just by virtue of the fact that we have to work right now. And it can be important and really meaningful and enriching and helpful in identifying industries that might be a good fit for you, like Brianna is kind of highlighting with Annette, or helping to connect with individuals who had, helping you connect with meaningful fellowships by reaching out to former Fulbrighters, or you know, trying to understand how the things that you're passionate about can map onto a potential job or volunteering opportunity, like Lindsay's talking about, that kind of reflection, by just connecting with other individuals. I think networking gets a bad rap. We're constantly trying to get folks to network. But really, I think what's been driven home for me in the past 3 months is just how much people have been valuing creating community and just some solidarity by connecting and reaching out on the areas of shared interests, shared commitments, no matter if those are personal, political, professional, or having to do with your intellectual, you know, areas of work. Reaching out and getting started in building relationships has been really fruitful for so many people that we've worked with already in the past few months in this virtual time. I'm going to pause. If anybody wants to shout out questions, we have a couple of minutes remaining. No question is too unheard of before to be addressed. I don't know if that makes sense. I guess I have one more that I will ask the group again. Let's say that, you know, I can see some familiar names in this list, like some folks that I know have been in a bunch. And I'm wondering, you know, pick one. What advice would you give to someone who hasn't come to Beyond Barnard before and about like getting started there? And then let's say, you know, you've been 1,000 times, you've gotten interviews, maybe you even had an internship this summer and it was rescinded, and you know, you've been through all of the resources. You know, what's your advice to that person who's like a super user and is still feeling like things are, you know, not coming together for them? In no particular order.
So I guess to the person who's never come to Beyond Barnard before, that's fine. You don't have to really know what you want to talk about. You can just come in and just ask questions. A lot of times with these sorts of offices and these sorts of appointments, people kind of feel like they have to come in with an agenda. And if your agenda is, I'm trying to figure things out, or your agenda is, what do you guys do? And you start to figure out how we can help you that way. There's really no question too small. And then for the super users, welcome back. Spread the word about why you're a super user, but also know that, you know, the situation is so unique that if things haven't panned out for you, it probably isn't something that you're doing wrong, but just more that there's a lot going on right now, and a lot of employers are, internships are, you know, rescinding, and employers are trying to figure out even what their next steps are going to look like. And so it's always good to just bounce ideas off of us, or say, you know, to see if there is something else that you may not have tried, or to even try to, you know, use some of our resources. We've got a lot of things launching this summer, so you haven't seen it all. So yeah, so just keep using us and bring in your friends.
I kind of want to interject. We got a couple of questions come in. One is, can we apply most of the advice on resources and opportunities provided at Beyond Barnard to international students? So I wonder if there's any kind of additional advice other than the best practices that we've already been talking about here that you kind of share with international students right now.
So I think knowing the parameters of your visa is really helpful. Also knowing where perhaps outside of the States you may be able to work or intern or volunteer, just in case things are a little different with visas right now. And so just kind of knowing what the limits are helpful so that you're not pursuing opportunities that may not be available to you because of that. So really doing that research, and also knowing that the alumni population is global. And so tapping into that network is going to be really helpful in figuring out kind of what you can do next.
Yeah, I think obviously I love that point. I mean, there's in Barnard Connect, I think there's 35 different countries represented. You will not be the first international student from the country that you represent. And finding alums from the place that you're from can be a great way to start approaching some of these questions. But yeah, we've dealt with everything from OPT questions and CPT questions. We work really closely with international student affairs to make sure that everything that we say is in line with, you know, what you need to know about internships and graduate school. And but just don't be hesitant to ask us those kinds of questions, and we'll do our best always to answer them. I got one about graduate school. So what do you think would be some of the, I mean, I have my own answers here, but you know, maybe fellowships too, Jen, you know, when you mentioned strong programs for graduate school instead of finding just strong universities, or maybe when you talk about strong personal fit to fellowships and not just like prestigious fellowships internationally, what are some places that you go to think about, you know, directing people? Where's a good place to start?
The most important place to start is reflecting on yourself. To be honest, thinking about what you care about, what matters to you. But what AJ said is absolutely right, that it's so much less important in the fellowships world to be pursuing the name that you recognize as opposed to the award that actually provides what you're looking for and that is the right fit for you and your background. So you may have heard of certain, you know, set of fellowships before, and they offer a lot of quote unquote prestige, and, you know, maybe your parents have told you about. And those are wonderful opportunities, and no one is saying not to apply to them. But, you know, it's a very different situation to apply to something just because it sounds like an amazing opportunity versus finding the award that maybe you never even heard of before, and none of your friends have heard of before, but it is looking for someone exactly like you. And because of that, that makes you competitive for the award. You have to remember that for these nationally competitive awards or internationally competitive awards, there's so many people applying to them. They are very competitive typically. So the best way to stand out is to find the opportunities that are the right ones for you, because that's what makes a compelling application. And so I think that reflecting and that deep dive when you find an award into like their website, into LinkedIn profiles of individuals who've had that award before, looking for blogs that they might have had during their time under that fellowship to get an idea of what does this experience really look like, and does this sound like something that makes sense for me?
And on graduate programs, you know, definitely I would suggest taking a look at some of the discipline-specific or kind of discipline area-specific programs we're doing on, you know, the humanities, social sciences, law, business, and medical schools throughout the summer. We're also doing programs on the 4+1 pathways. I would just say the biggest advice is don't fixate on rankings, don't fixate on lists of the quality of programs. You know, the US News and World Report, they can be good starting places to find generally well-ranked programs. And that, I mean, not just institutions, but you can look up top-ranked English PhD programs, and those lists vet, to a certain extent, the quality of programs based on faculty reviews, which I think can be helpful. But really what you want to do when thinking about programs, particularly in disciplinary fields, in STEM, in social sciences, in humanities, is talk to faculty about who they know in the kind of who's producing exciting research. If you're thinking especially about master's programs and doctorate programs, you want to not just thinking about, again, the institutions. You want to talk to faculty and say, who's doing exciting work in this subfield right now, and find where those faculty are. For those of you who want to do a little bit of a deeper dive and kind of enjoy research, I would really highly suggest going to Columbia's library. You have access digitally throughout the entire summer, and taking a look through EBSCO, which is a research database. There are similar databases across social sciences, humanities, and STEM fields, and try to get a sense of what the journal landscape is. Do a couple of keywords, get into searching for things that are interesting to you in the classroom, and find out what faculty are publishing on those topics. Then find what institutions those faculty are currently teaching at. That's how you find some of the best, the kind of not only great fit because you're looking for things that interest you, but who's publishing is where the faculty are that are potentially going to mentor you in a strong project. And also ask us, ask the Barnard Network more generally as well. But we have one more question here that I wanted to get out because I think it's a good one. When applying to positions through job boards, and that might not be the most effective way of landing a job, are there any practical tips for increasing chances of having applications considered by a hiring manager? So for example, should we still apply for jobs that were posted a month ago, days of the week that might be good for sending in apps, etc.? I think Brianna, you wanted to.
Yeah, I would say to increase your chances, focus on your job documents, because those are what lands you, that's what lands you the interview, and the interview is what would land you the job. So focus on tailoring your resume, your cover letter to answer to the job description, because the best types of documents that managers see or recruiters see is those that are using keywords of what the job is looking for, and definitely focus more so on the quality instead of how many jobs you're applying for, because again, it's really, that's what's landing you the interview, and the interview is where that lands you the job. So in terms of your interview, we also do mock interviews, so you can always meet with us about that. And then the question about should we apply for jobs that were posted a month ago, I don't think it hurts to apply for something that was posted a month ago, because to me, you never know what their timeline is for hiring somebody. It could take anywhere from a month to 3 months. So I'd say go for it. I would apply to anything that matches your skills and your interests that you think would be a great opportunity for you. And I don't have any, I don't think any day of the week you should avoid. If anything, maybe create a schedule for yourself. So like maybe Monday, if you wanted to apply, or Monday, do your resume, find a job on Indeed, tailor your resume. Tuesday, cover letter. Wednesday, apply. Thursday, network. And yeah, take a break on Friday. So I don't think there's any days to avoid.
I think the only day to avoid is the day it's actually due. If there's a deadline, get it in the day before. That's the only day to avoid. You just,
yeah, there's a deadline. They're going to look at it regardless. Maybe not past the deadline, but yeah. And we're also having resume and cover letter workshops next Monday and Tuesday. So if you have questions about your job documents or how to get started, we're starting that next week for Career Skills Week.
So we are at 5:03, which makes it for about 61 minutes that we've been in the room. I'm a big proponent of shorter Zoom meetings. Thanks to everyone who participated this afternoon. And we've been saying it over and over again, that does not mean we don't mean it. Stay safe, stay well, take care of yourself, do what you need to do to make sure that you're creating space to reflect and rest up this summer. We're here for you when you need us. Don't hesitate to be in touch, and we look forward to talking soon. Thank you to Lindsay, Jen, and Brianna. As always, I'll see you on Zoom in like 5 minutes. Bye, everybody. Have a good evening.
Bye, everyone.